Let me start with this. Sometimes it's not the huge fights, the dramatic betrayals, or the earth-shattering arguments that shake a marriage. More often, it's the little things, the small details, the moments that make your stomach tighten, even though, on the surface, nothing seems obviously wrong. That's where I'm at right now. I'm 28 years old. My husband is 30. We've been together for 6 years, married for 4. On paper, things look solid. We built a life together, bought a home, and we're raising a beautiful little toddler who is the center of our world. When people look at us from the outside, they see a happy, stable couple. And honestly, for the most part, they're not wrong. But here's the thing, no one else sees. I've been hurt before. I've lived through betrayal. In my past relationships, cheating wasn't just an abstract fear. It was a reality that left scars on me. Scars that don't completely fade, no matter how much time passes. I learned what it feels like to trust someone with your whole heart, only to discover that trust wasn't valued. I learned how painful it is to watch the person you thought would protect you be the one who actually breaks you. And even though I've tried hard not to carry that pain into my marriage, the truth is, it lingers. It's always there in the back of my mind, whispering reminders when I least want to hear them. So when something feels off, even slightly, I notice it. I can't just brush it away. Recently, that gnawing feeling has been creeping in again, and it scares me because I don't want to confuse past wounds with present reality. I don't want to push away a good man just because I've been burned before. But at the same time, I can't pretend that uneasy feelings don't exist. You see, trust is fragile. It's like glass. You can hold it in your hands and admire how strong it looks. But one crack, one wrong move, and suddenly it feels like it could shatter. My husband has never given me a serious reason not to trust him in the 6 years we've been together. He's been reliable, consistent, supportive, and loving. He's been my partner through sleepless nights with our toddler, through stressful work schedules, through the ups and downs of married life. And yet, even with all of that, I can't shake the feeling that something's shifting. It's not anything dramatic, not yet. It's not like I caught him lying, or found a secret text, or noticed lipstick on his collar. It's subtler than that. It's the way his new routines don't always include me, the way his stories sometimes have small hesitations, little pauses that leave me wondering why he didn't just say it outright. It's the kind of thing that makes your heart whisper, "Pay attention." I wish I could explain this better, but anyone who's ever had their trust broken knows exactly what I mean. It's like your gut has a memory of its own. Even when your brain tells you everything is fine, your gut whispers, "Something's off here," and ignoring that feeling. That's how I got blindsided in the past. That's how I stayed in situations longer than I should have, convincing myself I was just being paranoid, only to discover later that my instincts had been right all along. So here I am again, staring at the pieces of a situation that don't look like a puzzle yet, but somehow feel like they could be. My husband, the man I love and trust, has started doing something new, something different from our usual rhythm. At first it seemed harmless, but lately the edges of it feel blurry, like the lines that should separate a healthy routine from something questionable are starting to fade, and it's eating at me. Maybe you'll think I'm overreacting. Maybe you'll think I'm letting my past define my present. And you know what? You might be right. That's the part that makes this so complicated, because I know my history. I know I carry baggage. I know I have scars that make me more alert, more sensitive, more suspicious. But I also know this. In a marriage, your feelings matter. If something doesn't sit right, it doesn't matter whether outsiders think it's a big deal or not. It matters because it's affecting you. So when I tell you that something has started gnawing at me lately, that uneasy feeling that keeps me awake at night, believe me when I say, it's not just nothing. It may look like nothing right now, but experience has taught me that little things are often the warning signs. The uneasy feeling has returned, and I can't just shove it away, not this time. Earlier this year, my husband made a decision that seemed simple at the time, but ended up changing the rhythm of our home. He decided to get serious about fitness, not just the casual, I'll go for a jog once in a while kind of serious but full-on dedication. Every evening, right around 7 p.m., he would lace up his running shoes, stretch by the doorway, and step outside for his nightly run. At first, I admired him for it. There's something inspiring about watching someone commit to a goal and actually follow through. We live in a world where so many people say they're going to start working out, but by week 2, the gym membership is already collecting dust. Not him. He stuck to it like clockwork. Every evening after dinner, no excuses. Rain or shine, hot or cold, he was out there pounding the pavement. Meanwhile, I had my own routine. I've always been more of a morning person, so I stick to yoga classes in the early hours before work. That's my peace. My way of keeping myself grounded. So his running and my yoga felt like they balanced out. I had my thing, he had his. In a way, I thought it was healthy. We didn't need to do everything together. It became his ritual. Dinner would end, he'd change into his running gear, kiss me on the cheek, and say, "Back in a bit." Then he'd head out the door, earbuds in, and disappear into the evening. Sometimes he'd come back sweaty but energized, talking about how good it felt. Other nights, he'd just shower, eat a protein bar, and relax. At first, I was proud of him. Dedication like that is admirable. He looked healthier, had more energy, and seemed more motivated in general. I even encouraged him. "Keep it up. Babe, you're doing great." I genuinely meant it. But then, things started to change. It wasn't obvious right away. In fact, it started subtly. So subtle that I almost missed it. But looking back, the signs were there. His runs started lasting longer. Instead of being gone for 30 minutes, he'd be gone for 45, then an hour, then sometimes longer than that. He'd come back later than expected, sometimes with a slightly distracted look, like his mind was elsewhere. At first, I didn't question it. Running can take time, right? Sometimes people push themselves to go farther, test their limits, or just enjoy the rhythm of the night air. I wanted to believe that's all it was. But then there were other little things. He started talking about people he ran into around the neighborhood. Casual mentions at first. "Oh, I saw the guy with the golden retriever again." Or, "I passed that couple from down the street." Just harmless observations. Nothing suspicious. Still, I noticed something shift in the way he talked about his runs. It wasn't just about the exercise anymore. It wasn't just, "I ran 3 miles today." There were details, conversations, interactions, little stories he shared, almost like the runs had become more social than physical. And for me, that's when the uneasiness began creeping in. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't upset that he was making friends. We all need community. But this new energy around his evening runs felt different. It wasn't just about fitness anymore. It was becoming part of his identity. Something he looked forward to. Something he couldn't skip, even if we had other things going on. The truth is, our schedules started drifting apart because of it. By the time he left for his run, I was usually wrapping up the day, cleaning up after dinner, getting our toddler ready for bed, handling the nighttime chaos that every parent knows too well. While he was out there running, I was inside juggling the little battles. pajamas, toothbrushes, bedtime stories, sippy cups of water. I started to feel like his routine wasn't just about health anymore. It was becoming an escape, a daily ritual that pulled him away from me, away from our family, even if just for an hour. And while I told myself it was just exercise, I couldn't shake the thought that it might be turning into something more. Because sometimes it's not just about what someone is doing, it's about what they're avoiding. I wish I could say I didn't overthink it, but I did. Every night, as I tucked our child into bed and glanced at the clock, I couldn't help but wonder, what's keeping him? Why does he seem so invested in this new routine? Maybe it was all innocent. Maybe it was all in my head. But little by little, that 7 p.m. run stopped looking like just a workout and started looking like the beginning of something I couldn't quite define. And that's when my unease began to grow. When my husband first started running, he'd occasionally mention bumping into neighbors. You know, the usual small talk. I saw Mr. Wilson walking his dog. Or, that couple with the stroller waved at me. Just harmless details about everyday life in our neighborhood. It sounded normal. People notice each other, exchange smiles, maybe a quick hello, nothing to worry about. But then, one name started coming up more than the others. He casually mentioned that he'd met a woman during pickup time at our child's daycare. She was recently divorced, maybe a few years younger than us, and just like us, she had a toddler. They started talking, realized they lived nearby, and guess what? She also happened to be into running. According to him, their running paces matched perfectly. One evening run together turned into 2, then 3, and before I knew it, she became his regular running partner. Now, on the surface, that doesn't sound like a crime. People make friends, neighbors bond, parents at the same daycare cross paths and connect. I'm not the type of person who thinks men and women can never be friends, but something about this situation hit me differently. It wasn't just anyone he was running with. It was a recently divorced woman, someone who had just gone through the emotional turmoil of ending a marriage, someone who might be feeling lonely, vulnerable, and craving companionship. And instead of finding that companionship in another single friend or relative, she found it with my husband. I tried to brush it off at first. I really did. Friends happen, right? He'd never given me a reason to distrust him before. For all I knew, it could have been completely innocent. 2 people running side by side, talking about kids and cardio. Nothing more. But deep down, that uneasy feeling returned. Why? Because relationships don't always start with big dramatic moments. They often begin quietly, with shared interests, with casual conversations, with routines that grow, comfortable, and then, without realizing it, lines start to blur. I knew this because I'd seen it happen before, not just in my own past, but in stories from friends, co-workers, even movies. How many times do people say, "It just started with us hanging out, but then it turned into something more"? That's the danger of these harmless friendships. And what really unsettled me was the consistency. This wasn't an occasional run, like once every couple of weeks. This was almost every single evening, night after night. My husband and this woman were running together, sharing the same pace, the same path, the same conversations. Meanwhile, where was I? At home, bathing our toddler, cleaning up after dinner, folding laundry, managing bedtime, alone. It started to feel like she was getting the best version of him, the energized, focused, motivated version who was out running under the sunset, while I was left with the tired, distracted version who came home sweaty, showered, and slumped on the couch. I didn't want to admit it, But I started comparing myself to her. In my head, was she more fun to talk to than me? Did she make him laugh in a way I hadn't in a while? Did he feel lighter with her than with me, who was usually knee-deep in the stresses of parenting and keeping our household running? The questions haunted me. I told myself over and over, "You're being paranoid. He loves you. He chose you. Don't project your past onto your present." But then I'd remember the statistics, the stories, the little whispers of intuition. Friendships between married men and single women don't always stay in the safe zone. Sometimes they tiptoe right over the line, and that's what scared me most. Not that he had already crossed the line, but that he might not see where the line even was. Because here's the truth. Boundaries in marriage aren't always about what you can't do. They're about what you shouldn't do, out of respect for your partner. It's not about mistrust. It's about awareness. Awareness that certain situations create risk, even if you don't intend them to. So as much as I wanted to believe their runs were innocent, something inside me kept whispering, "This doesn't feel right. Pay attention." And that whisper, it was growing louder with each passing run. Last Tuesday is when the uneasy feeling stopped being just a whisper in the back of my mind and started screaming at me. It was a regular evening, nothing unusual at first. He left at 7 p.m, sharp, like always, laced up his shoes, earbuds in, and jogged out the door. I went about my usual routine, getting our toddler into pajamas, reading bedtime stories, cleaning up dinner dishes. By the time I finally sat down on the couch with my tea, I glanced at the clock. It was past 8:15. Normally he's home by then, sweaty, out of breath, ready for a shower. But tonight, no sign of him. By 8:30, I started to wonder, did he get hurt? Did he run farther than usual? Or was I just overthinking again? My stomach twisted as I tried to push down the worry. I told myself, "He's fine. Stop being paranoid." Finally, at nearly 8:45, the front door opened. He strolled in, not panicked, not limping, not looking like something had gone wrong. In fact, he looked relaxed, calm, like he hadn't just been running for an hour. I tried to keep my voice casual, but I couldn't ignore the unease. "You're home late," I said. He shrugged, a little too nonchalantly. "Yeah, I stopped for a smoothie with a friend." A smoothie. With a friend. That should have been harmless, right? People grab drinks with friends all the time. But it was the way he said it. The vague word friend, like it could have been anyone. No name, no detail, just a friend. And that's when something in me lit up like a warning siren. I tilted my head, pretending like I wasn't already suspicious. "Oh, which friend?" And then it happened. The pause. He hesitated, just for a second. Just long enough to make my heart sink into my stomach. You know that kind of pause. The one where someone's brain is scrambling, weighing whether to tell the truth or soften it, whether to be upfront or dodge the question. Finally he sighed, like the answer had weight to it. It was her, the woman I've been running with, from daycare. There it was, the divorced mom, the running partner, the one I'd been trying so hard not to think too much about. My chest tightened instantly, not because he admitted it, but because of that split-second hesitation. If it was truly innocent, if it was really just two people grabbing smoothies after a run, why hesitate? Why not just say her name right away? Why act like it was something to tiptoe around? That tiny moment, the pause, spoke louder than all his words. I tried to stay calm, though inside my thoughts were racing. Why didn't he just come home? Why did he need to stop for smoothies with her? Why keep it vague until I pushed? He noticed my silence, and quickly jumped in, defensive but gentle. It's nothing weird. We were just talking about training for the 5K. That's it, I swear. I nodded slowly, but my heart was pounding. Because here's the truth. Smoothies aren't the problem. The problem is the secrecy, the hesitation, the fact that he didn't just tell me up front. If I hadn't asked which friend, would he have even admitted it? Or would it have stayed a half-truth? Hidden under a harmless label. That's what unsettled me most. Not the smoothie itself, but the choice to keep it vague. The choice to make me pull the answer out of him instead of offering it freely. Because in marriage, transparency matters. It's the little things, like naming who you were with, that build trust. And when those little things are withheld, even briefly, it plants a seed of doubt. That night, as he showered, and I sat quietly with my cooling cup of tea, my mind wouldn't stop replaying it. The image of him and her, sweaty from their run, laughing as they walked into the juice bar together, sitting down, sipping smoothies, sharing stories, maybe even lingering longer than they meant to. Was it innocent? Maybe. Probably. But was it respectful to me? That's where I wasn't so sure. Because when you're married, your actions don't just exist in a vacuum. They ripple. They send messages. And the message I got from his hesitation was this: there's more to this than he wants to admit. And that's when the unease in my gut stopped being just a faint whisper. It became a roar I couldn't ignore. When I confronted him about the smoothie stop, my husband swore up and down that it was nothing. His voice was steady, almost pleading, as if he could erase my unease just by repeating the words enough times. We were just talking about training for the upcoming 5K. He insisted. That's it. Nothing weird happened. You know I'm not like that. And maybe, just maybe, he's telling the truth. After all, in 6 years together, he's never given me a solid reason to doubt him. He's never come home smelling like perfume, never hidden his phone, never acted suspicious in the ways you hear about in horror stories of betrayal. If anything, he's been the opposite. Reliable, steady, predictable in all the right ways. But here's the thing. Cheating, or even emotional overstepping, doesn't always announce itself with flashing red lights. Sometimes it creeps in, quietly. Sometimes it looks like two people bonding over something as innocent as jogging and post-run smoothies. And that's what I can't get out of my head. The image of them side by side, night after night, her ponytail swishing, his easy stride keeping pace, laughing together about something funny that happened at daycare pickup, encouraging each other when the run gets tough, ending the night not with a shower at home, but with smoothies in hand, sitting side by side, sharing stories. Tell me, wouldn't anyone feel uncomfortable with that? I keep going back and forth in my mind. On one hand, he has been nothing but a good husband for years. Why would I assume this is different? Why would I let my past dictate my present? Maybe this really is just friendship, nothing more. Maybe he just found someone who happens to enjoy running the same way he does. Someone who motivates him. But then the doubt creeps in. Because if it was so innocent, why the hesitation? Why say a friend instead of just her name? Why act like it was a detail worth softening? That pause plays over and over in my mind, louder than any words he said afterward. It's not the smoothie that bothers me. It's the secrecy. And secrecy, even the smallest kind, is where lines begin to blur. The worst part is that I don't want to be the jealous, paranoid wife. I don't want to be the kind of person who can't let her husband have female friends or hobbies outside of me. That's not who I am, and it's not who I want to become. I value independence. I value trust. But trust isn't blind. It's built on choices, on honesty, on transparency. And when that transparency cracks, even a little, it leaves room for suspicion. That night, lying in bed while he slept soundly beside me, I stared at the ceiling, wrestling with the question, am I overreacting? Maybe to him, it was just a smoothie, just a run, just a friend. But to me, it felt like more. Not necessarily more in the romantic sense, but more in the boundary sense. Because marriage isn't just about not cheating. It's about protecting each other from situations that could hurt, even unintentionally. It's about noticing when your actions might make your partner uncomfortable and choosing differently. And right now, I don't feel protected. I feel uneasy. I imagine the roles reversed. What if I had a male running partner? What if I stopped for smoothies with him after every workout? What if I hesitated before telling my husband about it? Would he feel comfortable? Or would he see it the same way I do, something that might be innocent on the surface, but still crosses a line? The answer feels obvious, so here I am, caught between two truths. He may very well be innocent, with no bad intentions whatsoever, and yet my feelings are still valid because innocence doesn't erase discomfort, and intentions don't erase impact. So when I picture them together, when I hear his words replay in my head, when I remember that small but powerful hesitation, I can't shake the unease. And maybe the real question isn't, is he innocent? But rather, why does this situation have to exist at all if it makes me feel this way? I'll be the first to admit it. I'm sensitive to situations like this because of my past. When you've been cheated on before, it rewires something inside you. It changes the way you see relationships, the way you interpret even the smallest details, things other people might brush off as nothing. To me, they don't feel like nothing. They feel like warning signs. And trust me, I wish it weren't like this. I wish I could erase the baggage, wipe away the memories of betrayal, and approach my marriage with a heart as unscarred as the day I first fell in love. But scars don't just vanish. They live under the surface. And sometimes, when you least expect it, they burn again. That's why his hesitation cut so deep. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't obvious. It wasn't like he flat out lied. But when I asked him who the friend was, he paused. Just for a second. Just long enough to tell me that in that moment, he was deciding whether to tell me the truth or to soften it. That pause, that single second, is what keeps me awake at night, because people don't hesitate when there's nothing to hide. If it were as innocent as he claims, why not just say her name right away? Why not answer me directly, without that flicker of hesitation? Instead, he faltered. And in that falter, I saw a crack in the honesty I thought we always shared. You see, my past taught me to pay attention to cracks. The man who cheated on me years ago didn't start by confessing some big affair. He started by hesitating, by telling half-truths, by calling another woman just a friend, and leaving out details until I pressed. And every time, I convinced myself I was overthinking, until the day I wasn't. So when my husband paused, my heart instantly recognized it. That split second of calculation, that moment where he chose his words carefully, instead of just being transparent. And suddenly, I was back in my old relationship, hearing the same vague reassurances, feeling the same creeping doubt. It's not fair, I know. My husband is not my ex. He has never broken my trust in 6 years. He has never given me real reason to doubt him. But when you've lived through betrayal, your brain doesn't just forget. It stores those red flags like a survival guide, ready to flash them at you the moment something feels even slightly off. And that's what happened. The pause lit up every warning light in my body. I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling while he slept peacefully beside me. His breathing was steady, calm, like he had nothing on his mind. But me. I couldn't stop replaying it, the way his eyes darted before he answered, the way he said, "a friend," instead of her name, the way he hesitated, like he was weighing his options. And then the bigger question haunted me. If I hadn't pressed, would he have even told me it was her? Or would a friend have been enough to cover it? That thought cut deeper than I expected. Because marriage is supposed to be built on honesty, on the belief that your partner doesn't withhold details, even the small ones. And while some people might say, "Come on, it was just a pause, just a smoothie, don't make it a big deal," to me, it was a big deal. Not because of the smoothie, not because of the run, but because of the hesitation. Hesitation means thought. Thought means choice. And choice means he decided what to reveal, instead of just saying it openly. And when you've been betrayed before, that's enough to unravel you. I don't want to live my life policing his every move. I don't want to interrogate him or create tension where there doesn't need to be any. But at the same time, I can't ignore my instincts. I can't ignore the part of me that knows hesitation is rarely innocent. So here I am, torn between two truths. My husband has never betrayed me. And yet, that pause feels like a shadow of betrayal. It might sound small to someone else, but to me, it's everything. Because when you've been cheated on, you know it never starts with the big things. It starts with a pause, a vague answer, a withheld detail. And right now, that single pause is louder in my head than all his reassurances combined. So here's where I'm stuck. Is this really a boundary issue? Or am I letting my insecurities take over? Because when I step back and look at it, this is what I see. My husband, running side by side with another woman every single night, grabbing post-run smoothies, keeping it casual enough to call her a friend, but hesitant enough that he didn't just say her name up front. To me, that feels like crossing a line. It's not about whether they've kissed. It's not about whether they've held hands or anything physical. It's about the growing closeness, the repeated time spent together, the intimacy that builds when two people share a consistent routine. Every single night. That's not just a coincidence anymore. That's a bond. And the part that gnaws at me the most, he doesn't have to include her in this part of his life. Running was his thing. It was his routine, his hobby. So why bring someone else into it? Why let another woman slide into that daily ritual instead of saving that closeness? For us, that's the question that won't leave me alone. Because marriage isn't just about avoiding physical affairs. It's about protecting your partner's heart, protecting their comfort, protecting the emotional bubble the two of you live in. And while some people might shrug and say, "They're just friends, don't be jealous," I don't think it's that simple. Friendships are fine. Friendships are healthy. But when you're married, there are certain lines that need to stay crystal clear. And when those lines blur, when your spouse starts sharing time, energy, and closeness with someone else, especially someone who's vulnerable, like a recently divorced single mom, you have to ask, is this still just friendship? Or is it emotional intimacy that belongs to the marriage? That's the gray area I can't stop thinking about. Because what starts as just running can so easily grow into something deeper. A laugh here, a shared smoothie there, talking about life, kids, struggles. Suddenly, those evening runs aren't just about exercise anymore. They're about connection, and connection over time builds into intimacy, and intimacy, emotional or physical, outside of a marriage is dangerous ground. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe my past is making me jump to conclusions. But even if nothing ever happens between them, isn't my discomfort enough? Shouldn't my husband care that this situation leaves me feeling uneasy? That's the part I keep circling back to. Marriage isn't about saying, well, I'm not doing anything wrong, so deal with it. It's about putting your partner's feelings first. It's about recognizing when something you're doing might cross a line for the person you vowed to love and protect. And right now, I don't feel protected. I feel like my boundaries are being tested. I'm not saying he can't have female friends. I'm not saying every man and woman who spend time together are destined for cheating. What I'm saying is that frequency matters, consistency matters, and secrecy. Those little hesitations, those withheld details, that matters most of all. If she were just a neighbor he bumped into once in a while, I wouldn't think twice. If he had mentioned her openly from the beginning, maybe I wouldn't feel this pit in my stomach. But instead, it's become a pattern. Every night, every run, every smoothie, every hesitation. So yes, I think it is a boundary issue. Not because I don't trust him, but because boundaries are about respect. About recognizing that even the appearance of closeness with someone else can hurt your marriage. And about choosing every day to make sure your spouse never feels like they're competing for your attention. Because at the end of the day, shouldn't my husband be the one protecting us? Shouldn't he be the one drawing the line before I even have to ask? Shouldn't he care more about how this makes me feel than about keeping up his evening runs with her? That's where my heart lands, over and over. Not on the smoothies, not on the running, but on the fact that he's allowing this situation to grow at all. And that, to me, is the real problem with boundaries. They don't get crossed in big, dramatic leaps. They get nudged, step by step, until suddenly you're somewhere you never thought you'd be. And right now, I can't help but wonder if that's exactly where we're heading. Our marriage has been good, really good if I'm being honest. We've weathered tough times, late nights with a newborn who refused to sleep, financial stress when we were both juggling career changes, and the exhaustion that comes from learning how to parent together. Through all of that, he's always been supportive, present, and loving. That's what makes this so much harder. Because if he had a history of sketchy behavior, if he had ever once betrayed my trust before, maybe I'd already have my answer. But he hasn't. For 6 years he's been steady. He's been loyal. He's been mine. And yet here I am, sitting with this pit in my stomach that won't go away. I don't want to overreact. I don't want to be the wife who nitpicks every move her husband makes, who turns normal friendships into accusations, who lets old scars dictate new battles. I don't want to suffocate our marriage with suspicion, but at the same time, I can't ignore what I feel. Because trust, it's fragile. Everyone talks about love, passion, chemistry, but the truth is, trust is the foundation that holds a marriage together. And once you start to feel cracks in that trust, no matter how small, they spread fast. Right now, that's what I feel happening. I keep replaying it all in my head. The nightly runs, the way her name comes up more than the others, the smoothie stop, the hesitation before he admitted it was her. It's not one single thing. It's the pattern. A pattern that makes me feel like I'm being pushed to the sidelines, while someone else gets the time, energy, and closeness that I thought was ours. I know some people will say, relax, it's just running, just a smoothie, just a friend. And maybe they're right. Maybe I am letting my past do too much of the talking here. Maybe those old wounds from being cheated on are screaming louder than reality. But then I think, isn't marriage also about recognizing each other's wounds? Isn't it about understanding what hurts the other person, even if you don't fully get why? Because even if he sees nothing wrong with what he's doing, he knows it hurts me. He sees my discomfort. He hears my unease. And yet he keeps lacing up his shoes every evening and running out the door at 7 p.m. with her. And that, to me, is the bigger issue. It's not about whether he's cheating. It's about whether he's choosing us over the risk, whether he values my peace of mind more than he values this running partnership, whether he's willing to set boundaries, not because he's done anything wrong, but because he wants to protect what we have. Right now, I don't feel protected. So I'm left with two haunting questions. Am I paranoid, letting my past bleed into my present, or is my husband actually crossing a boundary that no spouse should ever cross? No matter how innocent it seems, I don't have the answer yet, and maybe that's the scariest part, because trust isn't destroyed overnight. It erodes, little by little, until one day you realize the foundation is gone. I don't want that for us. I love him. I love our marriage. I love the family we're building together. But love alone doesn't make a marriage safe. It's the daily choices, the boundaries, the respect, the honesty. That's what keeps it strong. And right now, I feel like we're standing at a crossroads. He sees it as harmless. I see it as dangerous. He sees it as fitness. I see it as emotional closeness that doesn't belong outside our marriage. So here's where I'll leave it, with the same question that's been running laps in my mind every night while he's out there running with her. Am I being paranoid, a prisoner of my past, seeing danger where none exists? Or is this the beginning of something that I'll regret ignoring? Because deep down, I know one thing for certain. Boundaries don't shatter all at once. They crumble slowly, piece by piece, until it's too late to fix what's already broken. And I just pray this isn't the start of that.